Hello, hello. So what we're doing today, we're going to look at some more fill stuff about what to do with your letters. This is sort of more to do with effects than fills, let's be honest, because what I'm going to talk about is I'm going to talk about putting cracks on your letters. Very, very popular graph trope, this. Very popular indeed, putting cracks on stuff. So first thing you need to know, I mean, you know, cracks are just something we've been sticking on pieces forever, really. Again, you know, thanks to the New York pioneers who were sticking all kinds of stuff on their pieces back in the 1970s, we've got all this stuff for free. And you know, as artists, we run with stuff and develop stuff. And I started to think about cracks. And I thought, okay, there's basically two different kinds of cracks, as far as I can work out. There is your impact crack, and there is your, let's call it a degradation crack. And the second one is the one we're going to look at. An impact crack is where you punch something, or something hits something, and everything splinters out around it. You get an impact mark, cracks around it, and cracks sort of spread out from it. Bonsai does them really, really nicely on some of his old pieces, really, really nicely. They're not the ones I'm going to look at today, though. We're going to look at degradation cracks, and degradation cracks are cracks that just start to happen in things over a long period of time as things begin to break down. Those of you who know about entropy, you already know this. You already know about this stuff. Stuff begins to break and crack and shatter over time because matter is all breaking down. I'm slightly probably sounding cleverer than I actually am there, but anyway, this is the practical application of it. So I've done a couple of letters here, right? Nothing special. I mean, even as I'm doing, I'm sort of adding bits to them and stuff. Even you know, this sort of stuff jazzes up letters slightly, doesn't it? That kind of thing. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put cracks in these letters, and I think I'll probably colour them as well, just so you can see what you can do with them, because colour is also an aspect to this. So we've got our letters. So let's lay down some cracks. Let's have a look. So got a nice big open area here, just there, look. So how am I going to do this? So this is one way of doing it, right? One way of doing it is you just start to run a crack down. You kind of go, okay, big sort of jagged crack that goes down there. Yeah. And all these bits that come off it, that's just a random line that I've done there. All these bits that come off it, that goes in a direction there, then that could go in a direction there. That one's going that way, so it could go that way. Oh, yeah, nice. You know, break it up like that. You know, they're fairly feasible cracks. That's all right. That could work. It's generally not how I do cracks, though. So I'm going to rub that out. I'm going to start again. I'm going to show you how I really do cracks. This is how I really do them. So I start to think in terms of this. I start to think, well, they sort of break up in plates. So like if that was a plate like that, you see that, then it might break up into a smaller bit just there. And then that might run down to that corner there. And that corner might have sort of broken a bit off just there. And these bits might be sort of slightly broken there as well. And then that bit seems to have a bit of a jagged bit on it, so that could run into there. And because that runs into there, that sort of becomes a larger plate just there. Is this making sense? It might not until I start inking it, and then you'll kind of go, oh, I see what he's going on about. I get it. So, and then that bit might run off there, but then the crack might stop. But that bit might run onto there. And then you've got this sort of large plate there. Might even have like a little hairline fracture in that one there. Is this making sense? Probably not, right? So if I ink it, it might start, hopefully, it might start to make a bit more sense. So let's put the edge in there so you can see that. So there's a crack going in there, crack going in there, Let's put it to there. Little dent there to show that there's some damage to the edge of the letter. See that? Bit of damage there. Let's just run it up there. Another crack there. Big dent in there. Okay, is this making sense? That runs down. There's a little dent in there because there's a little crack there. Maybe a little one there, there, and there. It runs up there and there. Okay. Now I've not over-egged it. I've just put cracks in the top bit. So now what I'm going to do is pick out the edges of these cracks, and this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm not going to put all these lines in. Oh no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out certain lines to put in. This has got a bit of a mess down here, so I certainly don't want all them lines in. So what I'll do, I'll run this line to about there, run a line up there, one down there, one there, one there. There's a little bit of kind of joining needed there. Because what I'm doing, I'm trying to make logical sense of how a piece of material might crack, like a piece of concrete or something might actually crack in real life. That's what I'm really trying to do. Because if I can sell it to you, then you'll believe it. See what I mean? Because you've seen cracks before. You've seen cracks in stuff. You know how cracks work. Instinctively, intuitively, you know how they work. So if I get it wrong, then you'll know that it's wrong. So does this start to make sense? If I rub that out, you can see that there's a lot of line work that I haven't put in there. Let me put a fat boundary on it. Big fat, quickly get an outline on it so you can see. Because this will emphasize, this is a nice little contrast to the fine lines of the cracks. I'm just whopping this on. There we go. So you can see that. May as well do it all. There we go. So there we have our cracks. I can add a few bits of line here and there. Yeah, I'm quite liking that. That's quite nice. Sort of works for me. Good. Okay. So I've got a letter, it's got cracks in the top. Can you see this? So it looks like it's sort of broken down into there's a plate there, and there's a plate there, and there's a sort of plate there, and this would be a big plate there, and a little tiny plate there, and a plate there, and so it's broken down in a very logical way. A very logical way. I'll do a less logical way here. I'll do like the way I always used to do cracks in the old days on this one, just to show you. But first of all, I'm going to colour this. And for this, you'll need two nice two nice colours, one light, one dark, of the same colourway. So I'm using pink for this one. What about me pencil lines, whatever I've got left there, and just going to get a nice little base fill. I'm going to get a base fill in really quick. Lovely. So now, is this a dark enough one, I wonder? So what we're going to do is we're going to flesh these cracks out a little bit. So what happens if you have a crack in something like that? Essentially, that is like a little. It's like a little gutter. It's like a little. It's almost like a bevel. We'll come to bevels later. But what it does, it creates two sides. Oh God, two planes, I should say, not two sides. And that matters because the way that light hits it will affect the way it looks. So for instance, if I set a light source, which I always do, by the way, I set my light source up and to the right, so it comes in this way. Light hits it from this direction, which means that anything facing that direction gets hit with a highlight. Sorry, I completely forgot to mention I'm going to be using a highlighter as well. I'm going to use a white Posca for this. See if it's got any juice in it. Yes, just about. Okay. So anything from this direction gets hit with... Wow, there's not much in there, is there? There is not much paint left in there. That's all right. That suits my needs. Anything to the... So you see what I'm doing? All these bits to the right. I'm not necessarily doing it in a sort of... not all the lines are as thick. You don't need to do all the lines as thick. Some can be thicker than others. Can you see this? That's going to be a nice thick one just there. Ooh, yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. You getting this? So, it's to... This is confusing, isn't it? The actual crack that I've laid down, the highlight is to the left of that because that is the right facing plane. If you was to zoom in on one of them cracks, it'd be like this. You know, that would be the middle, just there. That will be the right facing plane, which is facing that way. That will be a plane which is facing that way. You see that? So this plane is getting hit with light, which means it gets a highlight. This plane facing the other direction. So it gets what we call a low light. Darker colour. We're going with a darker colour. Is it dark enough? Yes, it pretty much is. And it gets that treatment there. Okay, you seeing this? And in this way, you create depth. It's a very, very simple way of creating depth in your letters. Shove a bit in there. There we go. See that? It's a very nice effect. Suddenly you've got a slightly more three-dimensional cracking system on your letter there. And it's very simply achieved. And honestly, less is more when it comes to this stuff. Less is always more. There are, you know, you can just stick lines in. Stick lines in, do cracks. Let's show you some of that. So let's take my pencil again. And let's kind of go, all right, let's put some big cracks through the bottom of this U. I'll just do some big random kind of like, oof, ah, ugh. There we go. So I look at the edges of that. It's just a random line I've done there, you know. I'll do a big crack off that, like that, that's going into that arm there. I'll do round that off there. Where else do I go with that? Go like down there. One in there. Yeah, okay, do that there. Okay, that's a big cracking system. It ain't looking too good so far, is it? Come on, man. Salvage this. Salvage it. Come on, you're live. You're live. Make it work. I'll do like a bit in there. Some bits. It's broken into bits just there. Right. Oh, all right. Yeah. Go on. Okay, it looks a bit ropey so far, so I'm going to have to salvage this in the inking process. How many times have I had to do that? Many times, let me tell you. So I'm going to do a similar kind of thing here. Similar kind of thing. Not going to put all the lines in. Going to be very economical, so I'm going around the edge at the moment. And I'm doing my little divots. You see my little divots, little broken bits? And you can really over-accentuate them. You can really overdo them sometimes. In a good way. In a good way. You can have little sort of, you know, little bits that are sort of broken off from them. Like that kind of stuff. And much bigger. And you can start to sort of, you can play with like three-dimensional ones. You know, that have got a bit more body to them. You know, like this. And actually, that's not very good, is it? Damn, come on, man. Pull your finger out. You see where I'm going with this. Let's make this work. How are we going to make this work? There we go. There we go. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Good, good, good. So you see, I'm sort of, the way that have you noticed what I'm doing with my pen? I'm being very economical with how much this pen is actually touching the paper. There we go. Yeah. Because sometimes you just want to hint at stuff. You don't want to overdo it. There, that's all right, actually. That's okay. I'm fairly confident normally that I can salvage something, you know. I've been in the game long enough to know that even if it looks a bit ropey to begin with, I can probably do something with it. Just bang this outline in really quickly so you can see the contrast between a fat line and a thin line, because that's important. I would never normally bang a line in this quick. I take a lot more to, you know, don't ever think. I used to make this mistake very early on. It looked as if a lot of really great writers were just working really, really quick, all over the place, because there was such movement in their lines and everything. And then when I actually when I got to paint with people who were amazing on the wall and amazing in the book, what I discovered was they weren't working that fast. They were taking a lot of time and care. The only writer I've ever met who works really fast and is really good on the wall is Noir, and he can work super fast and his work is fantastic. The rest of us have to take our time. So there we go, another line in there. So I've got some, if I see, I rub them pencil lines out. I've got some feasible cracks, and these would work in black and white fine. And if I was to work in black and white, I'd do a bit more to them, you know, so you've got a bit more contrast. You know, some lines would be thicker, some lines would be thinner. All this kind of thing, you know. You get the picture. But really, they come into their own when you bang a bit of colour on them, because then you can start to depth it out again. Let's get a bit of, I'll do the pink again, because it's the quickest. It's to hand. Cool. Now, back to my highlighter. Where's my light coming from? It's coming from down here. So, it's hitting this plane here. This lovely plane just here. That's where it's hitting. And then it's hitting this one, like this. Bit in there, bit in there, bit in there, bit in there. This one. And by the way, I know this for beginners. I didn't realise actually how many beginners are watching my channel until recently. And I've got a lot of great feedback from some of my beginners tutorials. So guys, I'll be doing a lot more of that, because I know there's a lot of very experienced graphics at Wash from back in the day and all that. Mates of mine, people I know, obviously everybody is welcome, but I had no idea so many beginners were watching. So yeah, expect more beginner stuff. This I get asked this a lot. How do you know which sides to hit with the highlight and everything? It's very logical. You've got to think of all these things as planes and objects. Now, it makes it easier for me if I just think about a light source coming from the right-hand side the whole time, because then I don't have to think about a movable light source. Call it laziness, I call it expediency. Expedience. I'm doing well on the old vocab today, aren't I? So, this is a shape. See that? I've talked about this before. I was referring to plates here. I could easily refer to shapes as well. Shapes, plates. It's a shape, it's a plate. Light coming in from this side, it hits the right hand side of that. That's a shape or a plate. Light coming from this side, it hits that side. This is very rudimentary for some people, I know, but honestly, early on you struggle to get this, so I get it, you know, I do get it. Let's move on to lowlights. Lowlights, the other side of that shape or plate will be missing the light down there, because the lights come from the other side. So we'll drop it in. There we go. It's missing the light. There. There. So it's slightly fatter in some bits and slightly slimmer in other bits, because it just gives an extra dimension of, hang on, if I can put a bit more, maybe put a bit more highlight in there. There we go, there we go. You getting this? Is this working for you? So there you go. Nice bit of depth on the cracks again. You can go back in, you can add a bit more, you can play about with it, you can massively over egg it like I sometimes do, or you can just leave it be like a normal human being, and then get your fat white out. There's some very, very swift highlights here. Wow, that's a really watery one. That ain't shaken up properly, this way. Come on. There we go, that's better. That's better. Big highlights. These letters will stand big highlights. And then you've got a pair of nice letters. You can, you know, you may have noticed that I very rarely do 3D anymore. I don't really bother most of the time, just do a drop shadow. So you could do, if I just put a grey really quickly. What's that? That's an NG1, that ain't gonna be enough. That's an NG3, that's probably too much, never mind. Let's have a go on this. So, quick drop shadow. This is gonna be a very quick drop shadow. Apologies if this is too quick, it's a bit messy, but I think you all know how to do a drop shadow anyway. There you go. It's just a slightly offset from your letter. Again, you can elaborate on drop shadows, and I often do. You can make bits of them darker than other bits. Like that bit, for instance, is tucked away. I'd make that darker in there. You can blacken that a little bit in there, that kind of thing. So you can drop shadow that, or you can stick a nice. So I'm working on the graph paper here as well, so I can do it very easily. Stick a nice, nice 3D on it. I'm doing this very, very quickly, obviously, so don't shoot me down in flames. There we go. This is a nice sort of lateral. I used to love these kind of 3Ds. Sort of lateral 3D like that. Ignore them bits. I just did them as an example. There you go. Bit of 3D. You'd bang a bit of, you'd obviously, you know, thicken that out. So it was the same consistency as your letters outline. There we go. And now, seeing as I went in this direction, with your 3D, so you've got some choices with 3D. If you want to work quickly, just bang it in, block fill it with your outline colour. Just so I could just black all that. But it never looks as good as if you do it in a colour. So we've got a pink there. Let's do it in a yellow. But we won't just use one yellow. We'll use a few. So, same thing applies. Where's the light source coming from? You all know by now. The light source comes from down this way. Upright, firing down on it. Which means that anything exposed up there, any plane that is exposed, like this one, or this one, the bottom of this one, this gets complicated, but I'll show you anyway. The bottom of this one, these will be the lightest colour. They'll be the lightest colour because they're getting the most light. You with me? They'll be the lightest. Bang that in there. This will need a bit of a fade because this is what you might refer to as a changing plane. And what I mean by that is this bit is very much facing that way, but as you can see, it curves up. So this bit is not getting as much light, which means it needs a different type. There we go, that bit there, that's up there as well. Okay, now for these other planes, this plane, we're going darker. It's not getting as much light. Yes, you with me? Let's bung that in there. This, interestingly, this bit, I'm doing in this colour for now, this is getting very little light. Actually, that was very shoddy of me there because I never put a bit of 3D in there. Working too quick. That's just too quick. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Same on this one. And this one, that's very dark in there. Now the bottom bit, that's getting no light whatsoever. If light is coming from there, that's getting nothing. So that, I'm actually going to do that in this rather fetching brown. Oh, I missed that bit. Missed that. Get that in there. Let's do this in this. Oh wow, that's really dark. I hadn't expected it to be quite that dark, I'll be honest with you. I thought it was going to be like a burnt umber or something. Wow, that's really brown. That's quite chocolatey. Damn. Okay, that's darker than I would have liked it. Let's be honest. Okay, where's that gone? Remember this bit? I said about this bit. So it's dark under there. And then what I do, I just darken that down there. Take my really light colour again and blend that through. There we go. So I've got a nice sort of, I've got a nice kind of standardised 3D there. Fools the eye into thinking it's all the same colour. And what I'd finally do there is I would just add a bit of, you've all seen this before, probably just add, this is a dark brown I've got here. Add a bit of these kind of like solid highlights. This kind of thing. This sort of stuff. I'm sorry if this is a bit shonky. I'm working very quick because I'm aware that your time is valuable. Because, you know, I love the fact you watch my videos and everything, but really you want to be doing your own art, right? That's what you want to be doing. So, there we go. And variations at that. Stick them where you like. Experiment. And there you have it. I said earlier that middle bit, that's not really dark enough. That one needs to be a lot darker because it's getting very little light. Very little light. There you go, that's much darker. That ideally is the colour I use down there. That's far too dark, that brown down there. That wants to be a darker colour under there as well. See that? Nice and dark under there. But this is what it's all about, really. You know, you can experiment, use colours, work out what works best, all that. Play about with it, play about with a bit of detail. bit of embellishment. Do all kinds of stuff to add bits of details, and you know, I'm doing it now. You know, muck about with it, all of that. A few little bubs here and there. There you go. So there's a bit more fill work for you guys on that. A bit more, just a bit more to add a little bit more detail to letters when you're doing your fills. Little bits of detail go a very, very long way. You see, I'm looking at this thinking, just run that line up there. Nice little fine line. There you go. That's nicer, isn't it? That's much nicer. Little tiny bits of detail. Little bits here and there. Anyway, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you in the next one.